Greetings, schools, and welcome to another dive into horror television. Tonight we're looking at a top-tier segment of Night Visions, titled Cargo, starring none other than the horror icon, Jamie Kennedy, who you may know as Randy from Scream, or perhaps that 90s Romeo and Juliet film. If you enjoy this one, please check out some of my other videos that cover Night Visions. I have an entire playlist on my channel. Let's get right into it. We open and we meet a scared group of Eastern European people confined in a horrible cargo unit out in a vessel in the middle of the ocean somewhere. This is no place you want to be, friends. There are people seeking medical attention and food, but they're presumably screwed. A group forms and they're looking for a friend. They find a man eating a rat. Very nice. And they also find their buddy. He's sliced up and diced up, if you catch my drift. Poor guy. So there's a dead body in the shipping crate. It must be stankin'. We zoom out and meet our boy on the outside, Mark Stevens, a young, courageous, and honest man. He's been hearing noises in the same part of the boat all week. Whispers, moans, even screams. He interrupts the captain and the first officer to report his findings. Mark's dismissed by the men. His boss, the first officer, inspected the cargo himself, he assures them. The first officer is offended by Mark, but he goes off to inspect the cargo again to appease the captain, so he heads out. This is when we learn an important lesson. Respect your chain of command, kid. Mark should have went to the first officer before bringing it to the captain. We switch down to the cargo and we learn the old and the weak are dying off tragically. How awful it must be to be in that crate. Mark is down near the cargo with the carbon dioxide detector, and it's going all the way up as he approaches the suspected crate. Out pops the first officer, and Mark demands his superior do the right thing and help find the stowaways and make sure they don't die on this boat. No one wants that on their conscience. The first officer is ready to pummel him since Mark is bossing around his boss. But luckily for Mark, Boss Man is called up on the loudspeaker. The first officer tells Mark to take the night off because he's caused enough trouble, and then leaves. This gives Mark the opportunity to learn more about the people in the crate, who open up a small slot and start speaking to him. We learn that the people in the crate are immigrants that paid a great deal to get to a new country. Very cool. We also learn that they aren't dying from starvation or dehydrating. They're getting killed in there, and not by a person. There's some type of hideous creature in there eating people's flesh from their bones. Imagine getting eaten alive. Delicious. So it's all up to our friend Mark to make sure these people get out of the crate before they're horrendously eaten to death. So Mark runs upstairs and he has a nice talk with the captain. He instills some sense into Mark. Courage is not always a virtue. The captain prefers to be smart. That evening, we're back in the crate. Whatever is eating the others is up to its old tricks. Over there, in the far corner, there's some seriously spooky stuff going on. Well, this is when Mark comes back to try to help the stowaways, but he's in for quite a surprise. Mark gets beaten up by his boss, and then the first officer is interrupted by the captain, who has a big gun. The captain stopped the brawl to collect his cash bet from the first officer. Finally, Mark is shown the truth.
Did those, stowaways happen to tell you what was killing them in there? They're called local slug. They're not entirely human. The Tsars use them to terrorize the serfs.
Russian mob use them as assassins. Pays top dollar for them, too, you know.
Oh, God! The only problem is the voyage is a little too long and they get hungry. Unfortunately, they only eat flesh, including their own. Oh, God.
We learn they always lose a few along the way.
It's a natural order of things. Strong prey upon the weak.
Please! I was gonna help you!
You are.
And that's that. Mark gets his head eaten clean off. The crew shrug it off. Just another day at the office. What did you think of this one, ghoulies? I'm gonna rate this one an 8 out of 10 for this series. I loved it and I think it's a great addition to Night Visions. It's definitely unique. It loses points for the weird walking around scenes that happens frequently in Tobe Hooper directed Night Visions episodes, I've noticed. I remember complaining about a lot of time wasted in walk scenes in the maze as well, but still, go watch that episode, it was really good, and I happen to cover it on my channel. The acting was great, the story was interesting enough, and kind of funny in a way, at least the main takeaway. Remember to blindly listen to your boss, everybody. We get a pro-authority message from this one. Good acting. I recognize the first officer from somewhere too, and he's hilarious in this role as a big meanie. But quite a grand twist, which was very nice. We don't cover humanoids often on this channel, do we? They like to eat flesh, and that's always pretty scary to me. Someone or something taking a big yummy bite out of me sounds like the worst time ever. Leave me your thoughts on this episode down below. Are you a fan of the flesh-eating humanoids? That's all for today, but I'll be back with many more spooky tales, so please subscribe if you haven't already. Ginormous thanks to those who made this video possible, my dear patrons. Thank you very, very, very much. Be well and stay spooky.